This is the Velox 3.3 millimeter 90 degree aspirating ablator by Velocity Orthopedics. Here I'm using it in the shoulder. First thing we're going to do is clear out the subacromial space. What I really like about this ablator is that with the angle that the face is at, even though it puts the face at 90 degrees, the elbow on it allows me to actually retract the tissue inferior to me so I don't end up ablating the tissue. This is extremely helpful in this case, where this patient has a massive rotator cuff tear that's retracted. So I'm trying to preserve all the tissue that I can without damaging it. So here I'm just going to coagulate a bleeder that I've encountered. And then I basically just use this ablator tip to essentially just scrub the bone and ablate the tissue. I very much like the ceramic tip. It allows me to dissect with, so I can peel off a CA ligament without destroying it. You can see I've got it nice and clear here. And it does a great job of stripping the tissue. So in a minute this will zoom in, but what you're seeing is that I'm continuing from the posterior portal. In this case, I'm getting up and underneath, retracting with the elbow, protecting my rotator cuff, but getting beneath the distal end of the clavicle so that I can come back in and coplane this. The things that I like about, besides the tip, the suction works very well in this. If you keep the ablator moving, you get a nice smooth finish. You get very little char. If you hold the ablator still, it's like any ablator, it's going to burn. But I really like the tip because I can go right up into this narrowed acromioclavicular joint and dissect it out. And then it makes that much easier to come in with my burr instead of having all the tissue bind up on the tip of my burr. So here I'm doing an interval slide. This is a very, very retracted tear. You can see here that I'm actually just dragging and dissecting with the ablator itself. You don't have to have the ablator on to dissect with it. The construct of the tip allows you to actually pull on tissue, and I pull back against it and just snap some of these fiber spans as opposed to having to ablate. This is very important because I'm digging around the base of the coracoid and along the subscapularis, and I want to reduce my risk of injury to the nerve with the ablator. And even though the studies have shown that you can ablate in the region of nerves, I just don't like taking any chances, and that's one of the luxuries of this device. It's very stout. It lets me pull in these bands where I can and just snap them, and allows me to retract and see. So you'll see I'll actually turn it, get in line with the elbow of the device, I retract some of the tissue, and I'm just trying to free this retracted rotator cuff tear off of the coracoid where it scarred itself to, so I can mobilize it over to the greater tuberosity for repair. Now in this case we're going to be very successful in doing this. This is an anterior interval slide. Later we'll do the posterior, so it's called a double interval slide. It's a technique that utilizes the rate of frequency ablator to dissect this rotator cuff that's scarred down and retracted and dissect it free so that I can go ahead and repair this gentleman's rotator cuff. So once we've got our bands nice and dissected, you can see I'm in behind it now. I've managed to peel it off of the subscapularis. And I'm making sure I'm nice and clear. Then I'm going to dissect over to the coracoid itself. So here, yeah, I'm just pulling on a band and snapping it. And now I've got my cuff mobilized. So I'm going to dissect over to the base of this coracoid. Look for my transverse scapular ligament, see if I can free this up anymore to allow me to bring the cuff over even further, or if I even need to, if I have a good clear dissection. So there I'm looking at the base of that coracoid already. I can elevate with this and see my transverse scapular ligament, and I've got great excursion, so I really don't need to continue any further. In terms of my dissection, I'm now able to mobilize rotator cuff for complete repair.